Hey friends, before we get started, I wanted to tell you about another podcast I'm on. If you're a longtime listener, you know our friends at Castalia Cocktails are a great place to go for a top quality, crafted, thought about drink to enjoy. But what's behind that? Well, my friend Dr. Kevin Peterson has a new podcast called Cocktail Sense, where we, together, dive into that and talk about how your favorite cocktails come together. We get into the science and art of balance and flavor on Cocktail Sense and have some fun along the way, too. So check out Cocktail Sense in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts. And let's get started with today's show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Daily Detroit. It is Friday, March 8th, 2024, coming to you from our beautiful studio in Corktown in beautiful Detroit, Michigan. I have a bunch of beautifuls, beautiful Midtown, beautiful all the things. I am Jairus Days, and across the table from me is a beautiful man, Devon O'Reilly, and I can say that to a friend like you.
Jer, I appreciate it. Appreciate being added to your beautiful list. It's not the most beautiful day, but we're getting there. It could be a lot worse.
You know, here's the thing. Anything that's not absolutely bone-chillingly cold at this time of year, it's a +1.
It is a good thing. Even we've got some cold coffees in front of us, too, so it can't be that bad.
Today, we're going to be talking about a couple of events coming up, because I think it's important, let's do a little bit of, pre-Man About Towning. Kind of, it was funny. I was looking at an old episode because, unfortunately, I don't want to be a downer, but unfortunately, this week we learned that Chef Max Hardy over at Coop and a bunch of other things, so many plaudits, everything, we lost him way too early at the age of 40. So I was going back through the archives. And in those archives, 2018, Man About Town, Devon O'Reilly.
What was I up to?
Oh, geez, what was it? Oh, something had just opened or something like that.
I bet it had.
And you were able to wax poetically for 45 minutes about it.
Oh, gosh. Is that how long we used to go?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was
goodness.
Like a deep, okay, we went all the way there. But this was back in the shipping company days.
I remember those days fondly. Yeah, we had the Coop there. A lot of those places are still there. It's really cool.
Of all the places that have left us,
yeah, good.
That's one place that's persisted is the shipping company.
Yeah, and the shipping company as a whole, and the places like the Coop and Bangkok 96 Street Food and 320
Momo Cha,
320 Creamery. I think it's 320 Creamery. So yeah, that's really cool to see that those places have actually stood the test of time a little bit.
Yo, for sure. So we're going to talk about a couple of things, I think. And as I said, I don't want to skip past that sad news, but, go out there and learn some of the things he's been up to, whether it was he was about to open up a new place, so many plaudits for, a top restaurateur, top black restaurateur. There's just so many, good things that he did. And I just can't do it service. So go look. There's articles on Eater and all these other things. But I also know just a huge community impact and, yeah, I know he'll be missed.
Absolutely. I mean, he even had stuff as far as Lansing. He had some operations interests, different restaurants out there. So very broad impact. He was a mentor to a lot of people. So we hope, his legacy will live on through the people that he touched, inspired, and kind of helped out. So, very, very sad to hear that, especially in the industry and the stuff we talk about. He was a giant locally.
Let's get into these couple of things. Let's do them in chronological order. I think we want to talk about the St. Patrick's Day Parade. I mean, there's St. Patrick's Day itself, but Parade Day is its own kind of important thing in Detroit, especially in Corktown, set for Sunday, March 10th at 1 p.m. It is a special day because this is the day, St. Patrick's Day has its own day, but that Sunday Parade Day is the day that lots of people come out and revelry or bring out the family or go have some drinks or whatever since it's a day off.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing I've always struggled with is I'm a St. Patrick's Day purist in the sense that as long as I've been celebrating, I have observed the holiday of St. Patrick's Day.
We have observed it together at the Gaelic League.
Yeah, I've always said, I don't care. You can't celebrate St. Patrick's Day on, March 15th or March 19th, just as you can't celebrate the 4th of July on July 7th, or St. Thanksgiving on the second Wednesday of November. St. Patrick's Day, it has to be celebrated on St. Patrick's Day, observed on St. Patrick's Day. The problem with that, Jer, is that not everybody recognizes it, and therefore sometimes it falls on a random weekday. And, we've had a little bit of a nice run, Jer, where the last few years, some of which we've got to spend together, it fell on a Friday, a Saturday, those are great, but it's not always going to be like that. The parade is consistent because it falls every year on the Sunday before St. Patrick's Day. So whenever St. Patrick's Day is, the parade is always the Sunday before that at 1 p.m. and it goes down a route down Michigan Avenue right through Corktown as it should, and the oldest neighborhood in Detroit and the traditional Irish neighborhood there in Corktown. So I am super excited, always for it. I mean, again, lives change and experiences change. I've loved past participations in it. The weather is always a wild card. We've lost some Irish bars that used to dot the Michigan Avenue parade route, but we've also gained some places. So I'm looking forward to seeing how some of these new places like the Godfrey, and the Hamilton's basically runs right up against Michigan Avenue. So you've got the Godfrey. You've got some new bars that are kind of along the route. So we'll see how they kind of integrate themselves into the parade. There's definitely more places to pop inside and grab a drink, more than there ever were, I think, which is kind of cool. And then also it's a boon for businesses. I know Brew Detroit, which is a favorite place of mine. Brew Detroit has already been kind of putting out on social media that they're going to have a big party with games and giveaways and new beer releases and all that. So that would be a really cool place. It's a little off the route. That's the type of place I might go and check out. But it'll be a great day.
And the weather looks to be kind of it's not going to be stellar, but it'll definitely be fine. And I think that'll be something that brings out closer to the 100,000 max, because they say that basically 80 to 100,000 people come out every year for this thing.
Over 45 and not raining is good weather for this day. You know what's funny, Jerry, is I'm almost tempted to say that you want good weather, but you don't want great weather, because I've seen this parade when there's like great weather. Like I've seen it in like 60 plus and sunny. It becomes a blank show, if you know what I mean. Like it gets if you get too nice weather for this thing in March, how Michiganders get when the weather's nice. It can almost be, yeah. So I'm hoping for like a nice like 50 and cloudy. That'll be perfect weather for the parade, because that'll keep like the real crazies from turning it into like spring break. But no, it'll be fun. Are you gonna try and go, Jer?
Yeah, I'm gonna see the parade. I don't know if I'm gonna hit the gas and go super hard. I obviously don't have kids. I'm not gonna be like there at the crack of dawn and I used to work for a company that sponsored the 5K. I'm not a 5K kind of guy. I'm more of like
mashed potato mile. That's Thanksgiving bits.
I'm more of 5 ounces on my cream cheese and my espresso.
Oh, nice.
5 ounces of cream cheese on my bagel and an espresso kind of guy.
I thought you meant 5 ounces of cream cheese on your bagel and in your espresso.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my Lord.
Invented a new drink.
They're also going to have like a kid zone. There are going to be some people who are going to be bringing kids out to this thing. And I think it's important to think about when you're going to do your revelry, like be respectful of that. Because I know you're straddling that line. You have been both of these things.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's kind of even more what I'm alluding to, and I'm more cognizant of it now. Is should be a family friendly event. I know that it isn't always, and I remember going as a kid and seeing a lot of drunk people and people making idiots of themselves. It's really hard to tell people not to on St. Patrick's Day and the parade, but I would hope that people are a little respectful and think about who else might be around them, because people do want to bring their kids to this. Yeah, I think if you're bringing your family, what I would say is you can be a little bit smarter about it, because even now with the different mix, Corktown of 10 years ago was a lot of dive bars, a lot of Irish bars. It was a totally different mix. It was a little more rough and tumble. Nowadays, like, if you were going down with kids, I'm not sure what I'm going to do just yet, but you might go to Hamilton's, as I mentioned, and the Godfrey. You could be inside.
James Oliver.
You could go to even like a Tavavia, maybe somewhere that's just a little bit more kind of restaurant-y and still enjoy the parade.
And the kids' age matters too.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Exactly. So, you can kind of make the parade whatever it is. Scope out where you want to hang out and spend the parade. It should be a good time.
I think we also, since you are in O'Reilly, every year we like to revisit the Irish traditions that O'Reilly's bring to us. And so we need to talk about kind of what you're putting together, what you think about for drinks. So like food-wise, what is the first thing that you're focused on?
Well, I'm glad you're asking this, Jer. For the second year in a row, I am hosting on St. Patrick's Day.
And the
So,
day
looking
itself,
ahead,
which is
the day
actually
itself.
next Sunday, which is funny because the parade's this Sunday, but St. Patrick's Day itself actually will fall on a
Sunday, which
on
is
a
not
Sunday.
bad. Not bad. I'm not looking forward to 2025 when it'll be on a Monday, but let's not talk about that. For now, we've got a Sunday St. Patrick's Day. So, I mean, I think you have a couple kind of mainstays. You've got the corned beef, which you got to do in a slow cooker. You got to do the corned beef in a slow cooker with potatoes, cabbage, and carrots. The key there is to throw some Guinness in your kind of liquid mixture. So make that Guinness kind of soak into the corned beef, and then you can decide you can eat it you just eat it as sliced. You can put it between some bread and some mustard. I think that's a real go-to Irish dish. You could go the Guinness stew route and do beef tips and Guinness stew with the carrots, the potatoes. It's all about the carrots, the potatoes, the meat. You're picking up a familiar, or you can go the shepherd's pie route and do ground beef, potatoes, and carrots. And
I love
celery.
shepherd's pie.
Shepherd's pie is
I'm
really
a huge
good.
shepherd's pie
It's
fan.
harder to. So for me, I'm like I feel less confident with shepherd's pie because I feel like you can do that wrong. But I feel pretty confident in my corned beef cooking game. So I'm gonna do the corned beef for food this year, and don't forget the Irish soda bread. Pick some of that up.
You mentioned Guinness. Obviously, that's a Irish, stereotypical Irish staple. But one thing I see a lot this time of year, and I need to get an official ruling on the field because I don't have the ability to throw a flag or say this is okay. How do you feel about green beer?
How do you think I feel about green beer? Positive or negative?
I feel like you would take it and then dump it in the Detroit River.
I wouldn't disrespect the Detroit River like that. Yeah, I mean, there's no place for green beer on St. Patrick's Day, literally and figuratively. Let's talk about what green beer is. It's just freaking Bud Light with. So I've seen people I've been in the back of the house for this type of stuff. It's just food coloring in the taps, man. Like green beer is just Miller Lite colored green, and it colors your teeth green and it colors your lips green. It is a true sign that you are an amateur.
Oh,
It's like the mark.
you're going to go that far.
It's a true sign that you are an amateur. Either you're an amateur drinker or an amateur, reveler, or you've jumped the shark and you haven't, you're like, hey, did this guy ever get out? He's got a green.
Do you feel like you're being the fun police right now?
No, you're supposed to have fun without the green beer. Again, it's just Miller Lite. You can get the Miller Lite with the Shamrock on the can or whatever the hell they're offering you. Green beer is absolutely, there's just no place for it. And places will do it because people show up and they want to sell beer. And from a business standpoint,
Of course you're doing it.
Sucker's born every minute. And if you're going to
So
spend.
if you owned a bar and it was your livelihood, not your hobby, but your livelihood, would you serve green beer?
Oh, I take those suckers' money all the chance I get. Here, you want Miller Lite for $3 or green Miller Lite for $6? Okay, buddy, grab all the $6 Miller Lite you want. I didn't pay any more to make it green. Joke's on you. But a discerning drinker will go for a more Irish beer, or even more Irish beer. Obviously, you can do Guinness. You could do more British beer, Boddington, Smithwick's. I think that also any kind of red ale, an Irish red ale would work well from your beer choices. Whiskey wise, I think you have the Trinity, the Trinity as it were of Irish whiskeys, and Tullamore Dew, Jameson, and Bushmills. Those are all fine. I tend to prefer Tullamore Dew and Jameson a little bit, but you can do that. You got your Baileys, and you can mix them all up, right, Jerry? You can do Irish coffee if it's in the morning. You could just do a shot and a beer. You could do what is apparently controversial now, but we call them in my days Irish car bombs, where you take some Irish whiskey, some Baileys, and you drop it in a half pint of Guinness, and you chug it down, and your stomach will not thank you later. But
I cannot do that anymore.
I don't know if that's in the cards for me. But hey, kids, have at it.
On the non-alcoholic side, I think there will be a lot of 4-leaf clover latte art.
Oh,
made.
yes. Yeah, you could.
Like the whole next 2 weeks. That's the thing. If you're a barista or whatever, it's like this is the 2 weeks to bring out that skill.
That's the stuff you'll see. The green lattes, even like the matcha. This is what I've seen too. Is like people using the green matcha as a way to kind of.
Do you think matcha tastes like grass?
I do, but not in a bad way. I don't mind matcha.
Okay.
I don't mind matcha at all. I would drink it. It's healthy. It tastes a little like grass, but I like the earthy over sweet anyway. So I'm fine with matcha. But matcha lattes, you'll definitely see a lot more of. Obviously, McDonald's has their Shamrock shakes. I'm thinking of making my own boozy version of a Shamrock shake for St. Patrick's Day with a little, creme de menthe and some Baileys and some Irish whiskey and ice cream. I think that would taste pretty good.
You don't strike me as the kind of person that ever steps into a McDonald's.
I used to. I'm just remembering. I know that they still make Shamrock Shakes, but I haven't had one in like 10 years. And so I'm going to just boozify mine this year.
We were talking on our internal Slack, and there is something that you have also concocted to share with listeners.
Yeah, it's not quite Irish, but it definitely incorporates the root vegetables that are very prevalent in Ireland. Let's say that. I was thinking the other day, we talked, a lot about different kinds of drinks and like Bloody Marys. I like the idea of a Bloody Mary. And I had one with you not too long ago, but I don't always like a Bloody Mary. And it's such a heavy drink with, the tomato juice and like the salt and all that stuff. So I was trying to think about what I would really enjoy as a kind of breakfast brunch drink. And I decided to make my improved Bloody Mary that incorporates fresh, not like extra sugared or processed, beet juice, carrot juice, which I bought both from Whole Foods, the organic stuff, almost equal parts. Beet juice, carrot juice, some ginger, and some lemon juice, and then your staple spirit of vodka. Horseradish vodka, the kind from Detroit City Distillery, works perfectly here.
Is that its highest and best use?
Yes, it is. It is the highest and best use. Better than in a Bloody Mary. I've found the best use for the horseradish vodka.
Okay.
So DCD can call me and I'll print out this recipe for them and they can make it up. Because I'm telling you, it's really smooth. It tastes really nice. The flavors mask really well. The beet juice gives it a heartiness. The carrot juice also gives a little bit of a heartiness, a little bit of sweetness, but not too sweet. Masks the vodka, but it still tastes like a nice cocktail. And it's much, much healthier, Jer.
Maybe we should put this recipe in the show notes.
We could. It's really simple. I mean, I try not to make things too difficult. So I think that if people want to give it a try at home, go for it.
If you've got traditions that you're doing or ideas that you want to share, dailydetroit@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. Coming up in April, end of April, the NFL draft. We've mentioned a few times, but now we have a detailed map of what is going to happen on draft day across downtown Detroit. And let me tell you, it's pretty expansive. It reminds me a little bit of the Super Bowl because there's going to be a lot of streets shut down. They're saying like 70 different Detroit businesses that they're working with. This is going to be quite the thing, from Hart Plaza and the riverfront, parts of Jefferson Avenue, all of Woodward Avenue into Campus Martius, and then all the way into that like Cadillac. What is it? Like it's next to Cadillac Square, where they have the food trucks, like that empty parking lot, which is soon not going to be an empty parking lot. That's where the draft stage is going to be. And then a little bit past then, it's basically going to be like one huge draft day event.
Yeah, the entirety of downtown is going to be activated for the draft. It'll be bigger than the Super Bowl, as we've said on here. It's kind of what the auto show is trying to be. Remember when they tried to do that? We talked about it in the fall, and like, we're going to activate all of downtown for the auto show, and it was kind of a failure. This is truly going to be that.
I hope we take some notes with what happens here, so that we can kind of take some of the best ideas that work, because this could be really transformative for it on April 25th through the 27th.
It should be a huge, huge, huge boon for small businesses in the area. It's going to be a cluster for people who are trying to get in and get out. So, I mean, let's not even...
Parking's going to be so crazy.
Parking's going to be crazy and not even difficult, like impossible. Like, you will not be able to drive into downtown. Like, just don't expect to be able to drive into downtown. You're going to have to park very, very far away and walk.
Use the Q line, use mass transit.
Let's use it to plug some of this micro mobility that we've got in terms of the Q line, the people mover, the scooters that are out there. Start planning your route if you're going to go down there. I also think they're selling tickets, so I do believe that it's going to be a closed event. So like, you can't just decide that morning you're going to walk into
It's not selling tickets; it's you have to sign up for tickets.
Sure, right, exactly.
And so I will actually put a link in the show notes to get you signed up. And of course, we're going to be out there for the days of the draft, which is going to be very exciting. But it's important to plan a little bit ahead on this one. I think that, consolidate cars as much as possible. Try not to come down just like one car, one person, or one car, two people. Try to load in, because it's a very small area. There's going to be a lot of intense activity. And in fact, some of this stuff's even going to start happening. Construction starts at the end of this month. So you're going to see these things start to develop very soon, where there's going to be some definite inconveniences for this one.
And I think it's also important to start thinking now about what you want your NFL draft experience to be. Because if you want to be one of the masses in kind of the pit there in Campus Martius, as you said, you have to kind of sign up ahead of time for tickets.
March 19th, that opens up.
You're going to want to sign up ahead of time for tickets. Know that you're going to be in a giant mass of people. I don't think you're going to be watching a TV, so you're not going to be able to get to see like a detailed analysis of the draft. So do you want to do that? Do you want to be somebody who goes downtown but goes to like a bar where you can watch the actual draft happening? That's a different experience.
It's going to be wild to see places like Gillies and how they handle, because they're supposed to be just open. A bunch of places are supposed to be newly open for the draft. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle the crush of people. We just talked about maybe 100,000 people for the St. Patrick's Parade. They're expecting 300 to 400,000 people for this thing.
Every bar is going to become a sports bar. I'm telling you right now. I bet a lot of bars right now are investing in either large TVs or like projector screens and stuff, because people popping into random bars that they've never been to before in downtown Detroit are going to be looking for a TV to catch the draft action. So think about what you want your draft experience to be. Do you want to just experience it from the outside? Do you want to be right there in the thick of it? Because you got to plan for whatever that's going to be.
What are you most excited about the draft? Because I know you're a bit of a football fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people, I don't want to be in the thick of it. I don't need to be in the masses. Like, I'm not someone who ever wanted to be in Times Square for New Year's Eve. That just sounds a little too much for me. I'd rather like to be kind of like away from the action, but kind of like on the fringes of it, where I can still sit down at a bar or a restaurant and like experience the draft.
Would you land like in Corktown or Midtown or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would get as close as possible without it getting like super crazy, and just kind of take it all in. That's what I'd like to do, because inevitably, of course, it's going to kind of like to spill out. And I mean, full disclosure, we work down there. I'm going to be interested to see the week leading up to it, how all that's coming together. I'll kind of get to see the sausage made as we come up to the draft.
I think on social media and on the newsletter and stuff, we'll share some pictures of all of these things started getting built, and like on our Instagram and some reels, because there's going to be so much interest in this. And then I also know that Fletcher and I will be in the thick of it for some of this as well. I don't know how many days, but it's something that we're going to be in the thick of it. Maybe we should unofficially, because we're not, we're not sponsored by the NFL, but maybe unofficially meet up somewhere or do something, because that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, people will be around. Listeners will be around. It's gonna be wild. You might be someone who just wants to watch it on TV, and that's fine too. Maybe you just want to watch it on TV, and it's all too much.
The budget for this thing's like $25 million, focused on just a few square blocks. I'm so curious how this is gonna come together.
My last thing on it is I'll say is, like we say with all the events, this more than any other, if you do come down, please be respectful and think about the fact that you're probably gonna meet people who have never been to Detroit before. This is their first time coming in 20 years. And we want to paint a good picture. We want to tell a good story. We don't want to come off as a-holes, right? So you're an ambassador when you're down here.
Now, I wonder, are we going to get Jason Kelce or Travis Kelce? One of the Kelce brothers with
Jason's retired, so he's got a lot more time. He can probably.
I got to think he's going to go in immediate. By the way, if people don't know, he just retired this week.
Yeah, he's more. I would say he's more in line to do something like that. Travis might be a little busy. He's got a very high-profile relationship to focus on right now. But Jason could be around.
Now, if you've got questions about the draft, or there are specific things you want to know, we can get in touch with our friends at Visit Detroit or talk to some people at the city. We would be glad to kind of concierge and figure out as much as we can. So dailydetroit@gmail.com if you've got draft day questions. If you want to talk the sports side, obviously we can always send stuff to Fletcher Sharp. But as far as the event itself, I think that's something that, try to help our listeners as much as we can, Devon.
Absolutely. We want to. The draft is going to be the biggest thing we've had in quite a long time. So I don't think it's I don't think it's overreaching to say all the help you can get. We're happy to lend our ideas, advice, suggestions, all that sort of thing. What would we be if not to help people get out and about in Detroit?
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Your Daily Detroit, and thank you so much for listening this entire week. Thank you to our members on Patreon, patreon.com/dailydetroit for making this happen, as well as our Friday sponsor, which is Castalia Cocktails. Always tasty there in Midtown. One of the best small bars that you're going to find around Metro Detroit, 100%. With that, I am Jer Stays.
I'm Devon O'Reilly.
Remember that you are somebody, and we'll talk next week.